This keynote is in the framework of the CERT program. I'm Jaap Hogeling, for more than 20 years active in developing energy performance of building standards, currently chair of the CEN-TC 371 Energy Performance of Buildings and initiator of the EPB Center. In this presentation, I want to pay some attention to the EPB standards, some information on the EU Green Deal renovation wave and Fit for 55 towards 2030, and the zero carbon emission by 2050 program, and the revision of the Energy Performance Buildings Directive that was published in 2018, and the impact of these EU policy actions on the revision of the EPB standards. Standards, it's important to distinguish between the words standards and regulations or codes. The regulations or codes are set by the national governments and regulators. The set of standards has been developed to refer to by these regulators and contain the energy performance of building assessment procedure, which is functional, sensitive, and usable. I give an overview of the set of standards. For more information, I refer to webinar number 1 of the EPB Center website. I will not go into detail, but this picture reflects the main set, from boundary conditions input on the top to energy need calculations by EN ISO 52016 in the middle, to the energy use calculations for the various heating, ventilating, air conditioning, cooling, lighting, and other systems to deliver and the energy to the building and converting the total energy use to primary energy and post-processing this information for the energy performance certificate. It is a modular set of standards. This modularity is a real advantage given the big number of standards, about 61. If you know one, you understand the structure of all. Most standards also have a technical report to help to understand the content of the standard. The structure of the EPB standards and the accompanying spreadsheets. Important is to know that the standards have an Annex A and B. Annex A is an empty template ready to report the national choices connected to the national building regulations and regulations set by national governments. Annex B includes default choices ready for use of the standard. A few words on the EU Green Deal and the Fit for 55 by 2030 program. They are the drivers for the revision of the EPBD. And the question is, do they affect the use of the set of EPB standards? The three main focus areas of the renovation wave are tackling energy poverty and worse performing buildings towards healthy buildings, make elite examples priority for renovation for public buildings, and decarbonization of the energy delivered to and exported from buildings. Another focus is supporting the use of energy performance building certificates and building renovation passports. Buildings are acknowledged as one of the key factors and focus areas for European Green Deal, and more specific, the renovation wave strategy. The basis for urgent revision of the EPBD that was published in 2018 to direct the national renovation strategy to achieve a decarbonized building stock by 2050. On the revision of the EPB, the current revision process is ongoing to make the EPCs more popular and addressing the need to have or achieve healthy and comfortable buildings. An inter-environmental quality indicator shall be added to the energy performance certificate. Also, the virtual energy use of underperforming or absent building systems shall be included in the energy performance declaration of the building. This means if you have no cooling system, for example, but you have a cooling need, this energy should be taken into account, as it is expected that cooling systems will be added in the near future in those buildings. Hourly calculation intervals are required. This is an essential move also in respect of a correct calculation of the CO2 emission of buildings, where the CO2 emission of the electricity grid is part of the assessment on an hourly basis. This is also the only way to demonstrate that you have a zero CO2 emission building, and gives credit to the varying conditions and their effect on building systems. It is important to know in the revision of the EPBD that the hourly procedure that is introduced is more easy to use, more transparent, reproducible, and innovative, supportive. Also important is to mention that these two EPB standards are added as a requirement in Annex 1 of the EPBD. The two standards on indoor environmental quality, primary energy factors, and CO2 emission coefficients. Article 2 in the new EPBD says zero emission buildings means a building with a very high energy performance, where the very low amount of energy still required is fully covered by energy from renewable sources generated on site or nearby according to the Renewable Energy Directive. The approach of nearly zero energy performance buildings will be replaced by the approach for zero emission buildings according to the new EPBD. Requirements in the new EPBD on the zero emission buildings. For new buildings, all buildings have to be zero emission by 2030. For public buildings, even earlier by 2027. And life cycle global warming potential has to be calculated also by 2027 for buildings bigger than 2000 square meters and all buildings by 2030. And the indoor environmental quality indicator shall be in the energy performance certificate as well. The EPE revision, how does it impact the use of the EPE standards? Well, the hourly calculation step will improve the reliability and transparency of the assessment procedures. It will also bring the use of the smart readiness indicator to a next stage. This allows to demonstrate the effect of grid interaction to decarbonization at building energy use level. About the EPD standards, how will they be revised in the coming years? Well, there is already needed revision and update. because the standards have been published in 2017. To start this as soon as possible based on the experience of the current set of standards and based on the revisions in the EPBD and the uptake of other European policy papers. For questions and advice and further information on the use of EPD standards, we encourage you to visit our website. Thank you, and let us know if you have questions or other remarks.